All right, so we're going to start with the set-aside prayer. Please read along from wherever you are. Dear God, please set aside everything I think I know about myself, this book, my disease, these steps, and especially about you, dear God, so that I might have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please help me to see the truth. So today we're starting on page xxvi, the doctor's opinion. And again, we will read slowly and discuss each page as we go and open it up for discussion after each page is done. The doctor's opinion. We of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the reader will be interested in the medical estimate of the plan of recovery described in this book. Convincing testimony must surely come from medical men who have had experience with the sufferings of our members and have witnessed our return to health. A well-known doctor, chief physician at a nationally prominent hospital specializing in the alcoholic and drug addiction, gave Alcoholics Anonymous this letter. To whom it may concern, I have specialized in the treatment of alcoholism for many years. In late 1934, I attended a patient who, though he had been competent businessman of good standing, good earning capacity, was an alcoholic of a type I had come to regard as hopeless. In the course of his third treatment, he acquired certain ideas concerning a possible means of recovery. As part of his rehabilitation, he commenced to present his conceptions to other alcoholics, impressing upon them that they must do likewise with still others. This has become the basis of a rapidly growing fellowship of these men and their families. This man and over 100 others appear to have recovered. I personally know scores of cases who were of the type with whom other methods had failed completely. So we will stop and we'll start discussion there. So a few interesting notes that I have, and of course we're going to open it up for everyone else, is that this doctor is Dr. William D. Silkworth, and he was the head doctor at what was then called Towns Hospital, which would be like the largest treatment center we'd have today, where they sent all of the people that they couldn't treat anywhere else. This was like the last place you would go if they couldn't fix you anywhere else. The businessman of good earning capacity who was an alcoholic who had come to regard as hopeless, that is Bill Wilson. And then you hear a little bit about our 12th step, which is impressing on others that they may likewise still do that and share our message to other alcoholics. Vanessa has her hand up first. Let's open it up to more discussion.
Thanks. I'm Vanessa. I'm an alcoholic. Just in the first paragraph is what really struck me, and what I realized is that this doctor, Dr. Silkworth, he took this job specializing working with alcoholics because he had to right after the Great Depression. And I thought it was really interesting because we're going through something similar right now. He ended up working with a lot of alcoholics and meeting Bill Wilson. And when he talks about it, saying he acquired certain ideas concerning a possible means of recovery, it was sort of like half the program of AA. From what I understand anyway, it was the spiritual conception of the program. And so it's sort of the beginning of history here where Dr. Silkworth writes the doctor's opinion. So yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to have anything else on this? Dottie, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Dottie, alcoholic. As Vanessa said, that at the end of the Great Depression, when the stock market went, Dr. Silkworth, like everybody else back then, lost everything, and he came to the Towns Hospital in 1930. He was offered a job making $30 a week, and that was including room and board. But in that first period, in late 1934, I have written down, was I as helpless as Bill was? And it's just a reminder that how we're so close to each other when it comes to our disease. And the mental illness versus the physical allergy, which will be coming up shortly. So that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Raven.
Where it says this has become the basis of a rapidly growing fellowship of these men and their families. This man and over 100 others appeared to have recovered. And I put an underline under recovered and said not cured. Because it's a good reminder for myself that I'm never cured from this disease. I can recover, but I still have to put these principles into my life and work them on a daily basis. And that's kind of why I'm doing this big book study, because I know my program's not the greatest. I have a lot of work to do, so I'm grateful to be here. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you. Mel?
Yeah, I've just got the second paragraph that begins in late 1934. It points out that it was a competent businessman of good earning, and I've just got that it can happen to anyone. Anyone can be an alcoholic. And then where this man and over 100 others have appeared to have recovered, that it works if you work it. That's it.
Thank you. Kelly?
Hi, everybody. Kelly from Ontario, Canada. I just wanted to point out, as it says here, just a little bit down, as part of his rehabilitation, he commenced to present his conception to other alcoholics, pressing upon them they must do likewise, instill with others. Right there is step 12 in sponsorship, clear as can be. And the other line is our methods had failed completely. So that means AA truly works, as it still works today, and it's still proving it time and time again. Other methods can fail, and AA still prevails if we do the work that's needed done. Thanks.
Thank you. Last call on this page. Dottie?
Just one more thing. It's when Dr. Silkworth agreed to allow his opinion in this book, he wanted it to be titled Doctor's Opinion because it's not his experience, and there is no other reasoning other than his opinion on alcoholism, because there's no other reason other than the allergy of this. So, but before he agreed to writing this story, it had to be written as the doctor's opinion and not his oh man, it just went out of my head. His expertise, because he's not an alcoholic himself. That's all.
Right. Perfect. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on. These facts appear to be of extreme medical importance. Because of the extraordinary possibilities of rapid growth inherent in this group, they may mark a new epoch in the annals of alcoholism. These men may well have a remedy for thousands of such situations. You may rely absolutely on anything they say about themselves. Yours truly, very truly yours, William D. Silkworth, M.D. The physician who, at our request, gave us this letter has been kind enough to enlarge upon his views in another statement which follows. In this statement, he confirms what we who have suffered alcoholic torture must believe, that the body of the alcoholic is quite as abnormal as his mind. It did not satisfy us to be told that we could not control our drinking just because we were maladjusted to life, that we were in full flight from reality, or were outright mental defectives. These things were true to some extent, in fact, to a considerable extent with some of us, but we are sure that our bodies were sickened and as well. In our belief, any picture of the alcoholic which leaves out this physical factor is incomplete. The doctor's theory that we have an allergy to alcohol interests us, As laymen, our opinion as to its soundness may, of course, mean little, but as ex-problem drinkers, we can say that his explanation makes good sense. It explains many things for which we cannot otherwise account. Though we work out our solution on the spiritual as well as an altruistic plane, we favor hospitalization for the alcoholic who is very jittery or befogged. More often than not, it is imperative that a man's brain be cleared before he is approached, as he has then a better chance of understanding and accepting what we have to offer. So lots on that page because we're going to talk about the allergies. So we're going to open this up. The biggest part for me is where it's talking about that the body of the alcoholic is quite as abnormal as his mind. And it says, in our belief, any picture of the alcoholic which leaves out this physical factor is incomplete. And so for me, as it was explained to me, this is the allergy is what makes you the alcoholic of our variety. Megan, would you like to expand?
Hi, Megan, alcoholic. I think I'm learning a lot, in like AA history. Like I said, I'm a big buff with that. And actually, William D. Silkworth, he did not want his name put in this book. I believe the first original one, his name was not stated. And then he ended up adding it in the second one because he was like scared of what the doctor's administration would like say about his opinion. So he didn't want his name like shamed like that until this actually started working. So then he was like, all right, now you can put my name in it, like in the later editions. And, the allergy, it's just, the malady of the mind, I hear. I always thought it was like the obsession of the mind. And I've learned in this group that it's like the obsession comes with the malady. It's like it's strung off the malady. It's what happened. Like I have this obsession that I could drink like normal people. But the malady of the mind is like the forgetting too. It's like forgetting that I can't, drink again and forgetting all that, what the bad stuff that happened to me when I drank and dealing with that insanity. And that's like, stems off from the malady though. So, and to make sure that he's not jittery or befogged, like when you talk to him, because I know when I'm drunk, if you try to talk to me when I'm drunk or I'm like out of it, like I'm going to totally take it in a different way than it should be received. So, I'm just belligerent and I don't want to hear nothing. I have this delusional thinking going on when I'm drunk. So it makes, it doesn't do any good to talk to somebody when they're already drunk. So that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you can equate that to modern day detox. That would be the modern day comparison would be detox. Grace.
Yes, hi, I'm Grace. I had underlined pretty much what you had also, highlighted when you gave your comments about the allergy. I remember a long time ago, and I use it with others, is that when you're looking for some type of an explanation of alcoholism, I always use it's an allergy of the body, an obsession of the mind. But in those days, they really just thought, it was all about if you just thought a different way. That you could beat this, you could overcome it. There was no real understanding, as they say here, of the allergy of the body. Today with the closing of all our businesses, I don't know whether I'm the only one but I worry about the alcoholic because I know all of the liquor stores that are closed, and I think to myself, how many people might be out there that when denied the ability to get to alcohol will go through detox. I worked in this field for a number of years, and the one thing that was so apparent and was confirmed by the medical profession was probably the only addiction that you can really die from, the detox, is alcoholism. And you know, I really don't think there's a lot of people that are aware of it unless they are connected in some way with this disease. But I worry about that. And I even see it, you know, like in families. I saw it in my family. Those who just didn't understand the disease nor wanted to understand the AA information about the disease, that they still thought it was something that, you know, that you could just, you know, get over if you really wanted to. You know, you just had to want to stop. And I think of how many people who really wanted to stop, but that terrible allergy that caused the, you know, the strong desire against every possible reason to go back out and use again. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you. And to also expand on that, the allergy of the body, to give an example, it's when you take a first drink and you get thirstier and you want more and you can't control the amount you take. Where on Friday night, I'm going to go out and I'm only going to have one glass of wine with dinner, but it sets off the allergy, so I need to keep drinking. That's that explanation further into the allergy. Monica?
Hi, thank you very much. I just wanted to confirm I have a facsimile of the first edition. And if you can see my picture, you can see that it was signed --MD.
Yeah.
And I think we really need to be grateful that Dr. Silkworth was the person who introduced to Bill the concept that this is a disease. And that was very unusual. It was not accepted by the medical profession at the time, which is why he refused to put his name to it, because he thought he would be run out of town as a doctor. So I think it's important that we respect that and be grateful for it. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Charlene?
Yeah, so what struck my, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but anyways, I'll just read it. These facts appear to be of extreme medical importance because of the extraordinary possibilities of rapid growth inherent in this program. They mark a new epoch, which means a period of time in history or a person's life, typically when marked by notable events, which to me sounds like in the how it works, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. To me, that sounds like our story. These men may well have a remedy for thousands of such situations. He may rely absolutely on anything they say about themselves. So his medical opinion is saying to me, he doesn't understand what it's like to be an alcoholic, but the facts show that it's of extreme medical importance. Now, what I learned the other day was that Nixon was the one in 1976 who put this into the DSM, saying that it is a disease. It's really interesting to me that a doctor was looking at these people going, okay, I don't understand what's happening. There's no cure for this. But what I'm saying here is that it's of extreme medical importance. And you can listen to all these people's stories, and that's how you can help yourself. I thought that's again, really interesting piece of history into how this all came about and where we're at now. Cool.
Thank you. Susan? There you go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan, alcoholic, and I love the doctor's opinion. I do. I love it. This particular section, it gives validation to everyone, actually, but the alcoholic, they could be banging their head on the table saying, why did I do this again? And this gives a logical explanation, not from another alcoholic, but from a doctor. It's, it says the physician who had our request gave us this letter. And, that substantiates that, we're not totally crazy, but that, there is something wrong, and that this is a part of the solution. As ex-problem drinkers, we can affect somebody who has that problem, and that the doctor is going along with it. It substantiates our claims as alcoholics, and it started to bridge it into the real world. So thanks for having this meeting. I love the big book.
Thank you so much. And yeah, if you never had the allergy explained to you as it is in the doctor's opinion, you wouldn't know you had a different reaction to alcohol than other people. Emily. There you go.
Oh, perfect. So I had a couple notes, and forgive me if I am wrong. A grant sponsor had told me these things, that at this point in time, 4 years was the most sobriety that one person had. And that the other little tidbit that I had was detox back in that time was 3 to 5 days was the most that they had. So those are the only two little things that I had known.
Let's go to Dottie.
Hi, Dottie, alcoholic. So to add to what Charlene was saying about Dr. Silkworth, way back, I don't know the time frame, but it was long before Dr. Silkworth, I think, was even a doctor, that a Dr. Trotter in England knew that alcoholism was an illness, but didn't know what it was. And the same with a Dr. Rush in the United States. He also kept saying that alcoholism was an illness. But back then, they didn't realize that it was the allergy. It was Dr. Silkworth that came to that conclusion that it is the allergy that makes us as crazy as we are. And to the allergy, when I first came in, I was like, I don't have any allergies. I'm not allergic to penicillin. A bee can sting me. I'm fine. All of those crazy thinking until it was explained to me that, I'm different than, say, my brother who can drink. And then it wasn't until it was explained that, my body, after a while, just became different to how alcohol affected me versus another person. So, that's all I have.
Thank you, Dottie. Marianne.
Hi, friend. Alcoholic, member of Golden Mile. Marianne. I have highlighted in my book Maladjusted to Life, Full Flight from Reality, Outright Mental Defectives, number 1, 2, and 3. That equals Marianne. And that shows me, and I find that to be true even today at times. And as painful as it was to hear those words, I do know today that that's where my thinking can take me, and that I have to do the rest of the steps to combat that thinking. And I have to remember to remind myself that, everything gets big in my head fast, and there's something I got to do about it. I can't think my way out of it by myself. I also have the first drink sets up the allergy. I don't have to deal with phenomenon of craving if I don't take a drink of alcohol. So I which is good, because I've got the other 3 mental defective things to deal with on a daily basis. Thanks.
Thank you. So it should be noted, because there are different opinions with regards to that, where people say, alcoholism runs in my family, so I'm predisposed. But if they don't ever pick up the first drink, they've never triggered that allergy, thereby they're technically not alcoholic. But they would still have the mind, but not the body. Lots of debate on that, but it's not on this page. So let's keep going. Cynthia B.
Hey, everybody. It's Cynthia, alcoholic. I learned through the Joe and Charlie tapes. If you don't know what those are, I'm sure you can Google it. And it's 2 great guys going through much like this, line by line in the big book. And the way I understood the allergy was, it's hard with today's language with allergies, but that an allergy is an abnormal reaction to the ingestion of or contact with a substance. So the way they talk about it and the way I teach it to my sponsees is I take my husband, who's a normie, and, you know, it's the opening day for like the Cubs, and he comes home with his little 6-pack of, I don't know, hipster micro brew, and, you know, sits down to have one and maybe has a second, but usually falls asleep because it makes him tired. And after a long day of work, that makes sense. Well, I don't think I've ever had a sip of alcohol that made me tired whatsoever. It did the absolute opposite for me. It woke me up, it turned me on, and it made me want more and more and more. So that's the abnormal reaction. And there's a cure to that, which is abstinence with alcohol. And that's the body portion. The mind part is the part of me that doesn't believe that believes that I can drink like a normal person. And that is where the program comes in. It aims towards fixing that maladjustment, that full flight from reality, and definitely all of my outright mental defectives. And that's why it takes, you know, a full entire psychic change to get me to stop. So, you know, that's why I need this program, because the body part I can take care of. Sure, that's easy. But the problem is my mind keeps convincing me the body part isn't real. And that's what this program is for. It addresses that. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. And not to skip ahead, but further in the book, there's a very simple description of that where it's, if when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, or if when drinking you have little control about the amount you take. That's kind of breaking down the mind and body super simply. Leslie R.
Hi there, everybody. Great discussion. I always had a hard time with that word allergy, because in layman's description of an allergy is that, if you eat strawberries and you break out in a rash, you stop. If you eat fish and you need a shot, of an EpiPen because it closes off your whatever happens there, you stop. So now I'm trying to convince my sponsees that we have an allergy, but we don't stop, right? And so I just did not really play on that word a lot myself. I just really, my explanation for that was that we're just wired different. Like, I'm wired different than my sister. I pick up a drink and I want more. I don't crave the drink. Like, in layman's terms, craving is like you always want it. We don't crave a drink until we have the first drink, right? So we obsess about the drink, but once we have the drink, we crave it and we want more and more and more. So, for me, that allergy, it just never felt good to me to use that. And I'm not saying that it's wrong. It was Bill's word, and he does explain it differently. Like, he'll say something and use some word someplace and then maybe reconstruct it some other place, like where you were just saying, which I think is in agnostics, right? And but we just have, like somebody said earlier, an abnormal reaction. I have friends that are not alcoholics. They said, oh, I'm starting to feel it. I'm feeling woozy and I have to stop. And I'm, of course, as an alcoholic, we're always like, isn't that the point, to feel it, right? It is a poison. It's downright. It's just a poison. That's all alcohol is. And, so there's that. It's not a debate either. Like, it's whatever feels comfortable. I just never felt comfortable about saying, yeah, well, it's an allergy and that's what you got. Like, it just wouldn't fly with, the first couple. Maybe I didn't explain it well. I don't know if other people have that problem, or is it okay to kind of bypass it and do it your own way? I think, the bottom line is We are just wired different, right? Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, there's so many different words for it, right? Because they talk about obsession and malady, and they talk about the allergy and all these different words, but really it's the mind and the body. So I like to keep it simple because I'm stupid. Shannon K. You got to hit your mute. There you go.
Hi, Shannon, alcoholic. Glad to be here today. Thanks everybody for the comments. This is super helpful. The doctor's opinion also is one of my favorites because it's explaining to me what an alcoholic is and then further along what the disease is. And the part that and correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I interpret it, the paragraph of the doctor's theory that we have an allergy to alcohol interests us, and then it goes on. But as ex-problem drinkers, we can say that this explanation makes good sense. For me, that's like the hint that only an alcoholic talking with another alcoholic gets what this is. Still, in this modern day, with all the studies and the doctor's opinion, and it is a DSM, it's a medical disease, it is still, why can't you just stop? What the heck is wrong with you? So that to me is kind of the first little hook for me to say, oh, you guys get me. And once I started getting in the program and really fully doing the first step is when I fully accepted, like, only you guys are the ones that can really fully understand what I'm talking about, because what goes up on my mind isn't what the normies think about or obsess about. It's not normal after last call to go around the bar and drink everybody's drinks that they left on the bar. That's not normal, but in my mind, that's perfectly normal. Why would you waste that? Don't dump that. Give it to me. So I love that little section there because it's kind of the first little teaser and the first little hint to me saying, yes, we're defective. We've got all these things going on, but we're going to be okay because you get me and I get you. And that's all I got. Thanks.
Right. And further to that, too, it says, though we work on our solution on a spiritual as well as altruistic plane, and altruistic is selfless. So we're getting out of self. A little bit of our dictionary work there. Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth, alcoholic. So I still think, even almost 100 years later, that Bill's explanation for, not Bill, Dr. Bob's explanation for alcoholism is still the best explanation to date. So, in going in and out of this program, there's been a lot of studies on alcoholism since. And one theory, and maybe this applies to some people, but I don't think that this applies to real alcoholics like us that are in the program. But one theory is that, with the neural pathways in your mind, when you drink so much, you essentially train your mind to crave more and more alcohol. And then from there, it becomes an addiction. The problem is with neuroplasticity, and I think that neuroplasticity is great theory. And I think that it helps a lot of people. But for people like us, like for me, I am that person that tried every imaginable remedy to not be an alcoholic. And I, when I had time in the program and went out, I thought I was cured because I was like, oh, look at me. I've trained my mind to no longer be an alcoholic. Well, guess what happened? I went out there maybe once, twice. I was able to drink normally, but I don't know if it was really normally because let's face it, I was trying to control my intake. But, then it got progressively worse. And it was like, picking up where I left off, just like the big book talks about. So I think for a lot of people, for some people that are more so heavy drinkers and not alcoholics, I think that, retraining neural pathways can be helpful. But I think that for people who are real alcoholics, that theory is damaging because there are a lot of people that think that they can essentially become cured. the bottom line is, and Dr. Bob hit it on the head. I mean, it's an allergy, right? Like, I remember when I first started drinking, I never started just having a few drinks and progressively getting worse. The first time I drank, I blacked out. I remember being 16 years old around the first time I started drinking. I stayed home from school one day, and decided it would be fun to drink wine coolers. I ended up at 16 years old, throwing back all the wine coolers and like getting locked in my car, and that's an allergy, right? I mean, I could never, in looking back, I could never drink safely. And yes, it got progressively worse, that maybe I started drinking, occasionally, and then it turned into almost every single day. But the bottom line is that we have an allergy. We don't need to, at least for me, I need to remember this. It doesn't need to be the debate club. The bottom line is, when you drink, do you lose control? And I know every single time and time again, I have tried to prove myself non-alcoholic by looking at other theories of addiction. And this is Dr. Bob's theory, is the theory for us. I mean, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, how we started drinking, or why we started drinking. Yes, a lot of us come from traumatic backgrounds, but the bottom line is you either have an allergy or you don't. And that's something I think it's really important for all of us to remember. It's important for all of us to come back to basics and read the doctor's opinion to keep us from thinking that we're cured and going out and relapsing. And with that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. All right, we're going to cut the topic discussion on the allergy page. We're going to read one more page, try to get as much as we can in today. Lower hands. Okay. The doctor writes, "The subject presented in this book seems to me to be of paramount importance to those affected with alcoholic addiction. I say this after many years' experience as medical director of one of the oldest hospitals in the country treating alcoholic and drug addiction. There was, therefore, a sense of real satisfaction when I was asked to contribute a few words on a subject which is covered in such masterly detail in these pages. We doctors have realized for a long time that some form of moral psychology was of urgent importance to alcoholics, but its application presented difficulties beyond our conception. What with our ultra-modern standards, our scientific approach to everything, we are perhaps not well equipped to apply the powers of good that lie outside our synthetic knowledge. Many years ago, one of the leading contributors to this book came under our care in this hospital, and while here, he acquired some ideas which he put into practical application at once. Later, he requested the privilege of being allowed to tell his story to other patients here, and with some misgiving, we consented. The cases we have followed through have been most interesting. In fact, many of them are amazing. The unselfishness of these men as we have come to know them, the entire absence of profit motive, and their community spirit is indeed inspiring to one who has labored long and wearily in this alcoholic field. They believe in themselves and still more in the power which pulls chronic alcoholics back from the gates of death. Lots on this page as well. For me, I have a few lines here underlined about the moral psychology being of urgent importance. And that for me, I was told is referring to the 12 steps, steps 4 through 12. And then the unselfishness. I have that circled, highlighted, and underlined because I'm quite selfish. And we need to get out of self. And then the lines, they believe in themselves and still more in the power which pulls chronic alcoholics from the gates of death. These people were doomed when they were introduced to this program. And it's saying he got the practical application of these ideas, which is the program as outlined, and that he had the privilege of being allowed to tell it by practicing step 12 and sharing this knowledge. Let's open it up. Michelle O.
Hi, friends. My name is Michelle. I'm an alcoholic. I have, after that paragraph, we doctors have realized, I had an asterisk that says, here the number one doctor of alcoholism at the time is saying he knows that a doctor isn't capable of giving me what I need, the spiritual experience. You know, it just says it all for me right there, you know, that I need to have that spiritual experience. There's nothing medically that they can do for me. And I found that really powerful. Anyway, thanks for me. Sure.
Thank you. I too have spiritual experience in the left column. Susan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susan, alcoholic again. And I love that paragraph about the we doctors. And the last sentence says, what with all our ultra-modern standards, our scientific approach to everything, we are perhaps not well equipped to apply the powers of good that lie outside our synthetic knowledge. Synthetic is man-made. I looked it up. It's man-made. And so that means, to me, it means God-made is the powers of good. And so I get chills when I read that paragraph, because they didn't know, they weren't equipped to deal with it. They couldn't, but God can. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Susan. And expanding on that too, it also leads to the no human aid, which we're going to learn about. Megan.
Hi, Megan, alcoholic. That's what I was just thinking too, and I have that written down in my book where it says, like, we doctors have realized for a long time that some form of moral psychology was of urgent importance to alcoholics, but its application presented difficulties beyond our conception. And I have that highlighted, and I wrote on the side, using human power to effect a change of thinking. And that's where, you know, self-knowledge avails us nothing. And outside our synthetic knowledge, I have next to it spiritual change. And I love that they were so humble about not being well equipped to apply the powers of good that lie outside our synthetic knowledge. I love that they just pretty much, admitted, like, listen, we really don't know what to do here. We are telling you that these people have successfully done this and that they are probably well equipped to handle it. And that's, like, I even do that, like, in my sponsorship. Like, you know, if I can't, like, help you with an experience that I've had with something, I will refer you to somebody else who I believe has the proper knowledge of proper experience of what you're going through. Just because it's like, I'm not going to tell you to do something when I've had no experience with doing it. It makes no sense, you know, for me, at least personally. So, but yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Tamron.
Hi, Cameron, I'm an alcoholic. Yeah, I mean, I love the doctor's opinion, and one of the things that the last reading that we were talking about, it just drives home the necessity of us working with each other, alcoholic to alcoholic, one alcoholic to another, that is, I mean, there's so many things that you could say, like, that is the nut or the crucial part of the program, but it's like we have to have that as well. Like, we can't, having a spiritual experience is great. Understanding that our body, there's something different about the way that we, our bodies interact with alcohol. But then also that fellowship, like knowing that it's the work that we do with another alcoholic that keeps us sober. I don't know how, I don't know what the mystery is behind it, why it works, but I just know that it does. And, I've really been struggling with this, shelter in place and all this stuff. But yesterday was a pretty good day. Like, I focused on helping another alcoholic, and it really brought some brightness to my brain. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. And if you look, all 3 pages we've read mention alcoholics working with other alcoholics. So that might be a big, big, big thing to notice. Marie? You got it. There you go.
Yes. Hi, I'm Marie. I'm an alcoholic. So it was just popping in my head here. Not popping in my head. I actually have it written down. It says, not well equipped to apply the power of good that lies outside our synthetic knowledge. And I loved what was said before, and I had written down here, I can, he can't, and I'll let him. So I just wanted to share that and say hello.
Hello. And that also leads to it being a power outside of ourselves. Charlene.
Hi, Charlene Alcoholic. It's so amazing to me that now I understand why you had us say the set aside prayer for one. It makes complete sense. I've had some stuff highlighted in here, and I'm assuming it was from rehab because I'm like, when did I highlight this? I haven't opened this book. I don't think since rehab, or if my sponsor, has asked me to look up and read a few things, but it's an incredible feeling to have the history and to begin to understand again why do we do this, and just like the last lady had said, it's the reason why I'm going to go out and help other people, or why it becomes so easy to help other people, because now I have the knowledge to do so, and it all comes from reading and understanding this book. And I love that they had put this doctor, like, it's just so well done and so well laid out, the doctor's opinion. He wasn't an alcoholic, but he's giving his opinion on it because he wants, that's why he went into the profession in the first place, is to help people. But he doesn't understand how to help the alcoholic. So he's giving his opinion on that. And what that means is he's giving me the power to help somebody else, to go forth and say, I'm not a doctor, but I understand what it is to have this disease, and so that I can go and help someone else. So sorry, I just wanted to, that's cool.
Thank you. Rach?
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel, and I'm definitely an alcoholic. And first and foremost, I want to thank my higher power, who I choose to call God, for giving me the desire and still the willingness to want to be a part of this wonderful fellowship. I want to thank you for setting up this women's meeting. This is awesome to see so many people in here. I love every word in the big book. And, when my friend texted me and said, hey, it's a women's meeting and they're doing the big book line by line, I was like, yes. And this is like my third meeting today, so I didn't just gotten too complacent of doing nothing, but everything is in divine order. And when I was listening to the reading, it's just sent chills through me, because one thing that I learned when I came in here was to keep it simple and to not complicate this thing, and to know that this program started, that was, I'll say, 60-some years ago at that time. And the first 164 pages has worked. And then they talk about the different types of alcoholics. And, it was real easy for me to dummy down, take all my degrees and all my intellect and just put it to the side and become this newborn baby, and allow you people who have gone before me to help me understand this big book, because the words were really over my head, and I had to have a dictionary to see how did it play in the context of the reading. And then I was able to look those words up and then find me in those words. And that's what helped me, because I really wanted to keep it simple, and I'll be the first to admit to you all in closing that I'm allergic to shellfish, but there was a time when I wasn't. And I still obsess over shrimp and crab legs. And especially nowadays, people with the big boils, they have the big boils and they be sharing it all on internet and Facebook. And
Rach, I got to cut you off, love, because we are only discussing pages in the book. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you. Marianne.
Hi, I've got in my margin that faith in God, working with God, is key to recovery. Now, I got tripped up with the word God because of an old idea of God, and that almost killed me. So when I came back in, I used the acronym Group of Drunks in place of God, and the power of this program, and actually taking the action of the steps. That's when recovery started to happen for me. So faith in God, working with God, key to recovery. I found that it can be just group of drunks and listen to how these people recovered and you'll get somewhere.
Thank you so much. Monica M. on this page.
Friends, my name's Monica, and I'm an alcoholic. For me, I was looking at I had a question, and it's in the paragraph, we doctors have realized for a long time that some form of moral psychology was of urgent importance to alcoholics. Okay, so what I'm proposing is, how long, it says we doctors have realized for a long time. So what are they referring to when they're saying for a long time? Were they trying to work with alcoholics for a long time and then some recovered during that long period of time? Or I don't quite understand that part of the paragraph. I understand the rest of it, the moral psychology, but I don't understand just that piece. So maybe if someone can clarify that or give some thought on it, okay?
For my understanding is they had tried moral changes and behavioral adjustments and that had seen relapse prior. Somebody else may want to expand on that. Emmeline, did I pronounce that right?
Emmeline is good. I go by Emmeline, Emmeline, Emma on Facebook. So anyways, I just wanted to, somebody had mentioned, we're talking about the synthetic knowledge, the man-given knowledge, the knowledge that the doctors have about our disease, and they're trying to learn so much about it, just trying to understand us. And then later on in the paragraph at the end of what we read, it says that they believe, the doctors see that we alcoholics believe in ourselves and still more in the power, capital P, which pulls chronic alcoholics back from the gates of death. Power, capital P. So it's not our knowledge that they know, that, all the education that they have and everything, they know that they couldn't help us. It's that we believe that there's a power out there. And I love when people start talking about power as in a feeling, because we alcoholics feel that power, and we come to know that power, the power that we call God. But it's not a defined God. It is a feeling. That's all I got. Thank you so much for letting me share.
Thank you. And yeah, if you notice, power is on the page twice where it says apply the powers of good, and then it talks about the power with a capital P. Very, very interesting. You found the button. Jamie. You got to hit your unmute. There you go.
Okay. Hey, I'm Jamie, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm so grateful to be here. This is an amazing meeting. I was just thinking about at the beginning of this page when it's talking about, I say this after many years experience as a medical director of one of the oldest hospitals in the country. I think a lot of this context of what the doctor is saying is almost kind of in a condescending way, not to be condescending, but it's almost like he's trying to say, look, I have so much experience. I'm one of the best medical doctors there are out here, and I can't even understand what's going on. And the fact that he wrote this opinion is further validating the seriousness and the fact that it is a disease, even though he doesn't, directly say that. And for me, this was something that was really important that my sponsor showed me, that I also show sponsees, is that, if you have any doubt about this being a disease or about this being, a serious situation, this is an experienced medical doctor that's almost begrudgingly writing this opinion. And so that really helped me when I was trying to qualify myself. at the beginning. And then the other thing that I thought was really important was talking about the steps, the urgency of the steps, because I had a sponsee that told me that she had a spiritual experience in that because of this spiritual experience, it was going to get her sober. And because she went through something really traumatic, and she had this idea that because of this spiritual experience of this trauma, that was enough to keep her sober. And for me, I think that's more of a wake-up call than a spiritual experience. But I think it's really important that it says it's not just the higher power, which is hugely important, but it's also the moral psychology program that we have to do. That's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Right. And right while you were speaking, I something popped out of the page of me where it says some ideas which he put into practical application at once. So it's like they got into this stuff right away, not dilly-dallied around. So that's something good to highlight if you're working with someone new or coming back. Chris P.
Hey, guys. Thanks again, Kim, for doing this. As per the question that was asked, I think it might have been in Pass It On when I was reading, where Bill's sitting in Town's hospital with Dr. Silkworth, and he asks him, have you ever seen someone recover, out of this hospital? He said only very few, and they've had to go under a complete psychic change, and he'd only seen that due to a spiritual experience, and he tells Bill that. So I don't know if that helps with the question, and I believe it was in Pass It On. Someone might need to correct me if it wasn't or if it's in the book. I'm terrible with that thing, but it goes to, it goes to the question of that psychic and psychological that he's not able to. So I hope that helps in the question anyway. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. All right. Couple more. Shelley? Shelley?
Oh, did I have my hand up? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay. Did you want to speak on this page?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Leslie?
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to say I didn't catch it at first because it's at the beginning of the book, but I remember coming across this, over time and those two words, masterly detail. I was like, oh my God. I mean, writings of Shakespeare and Wordsworth and these, wonderful people in our lives were done masterly. The fact that Bill was not, he did not have a wet brain coming out of his alcoholic disease, and that he was able to write something that was described as masterly detailed. It's just like, it makes you really, believe in a God or something, bigger than us, that took care of this man. And his journey was going to, do this, book with others. How many, is always up in the air. But that masterly detail is like, oh my God, God took care of that boy. For him to put together something that would be described as that just tickles me right to the core. That's it.
Thank you so much, Leslie. We'll do one more. Michelle G.
Good morning, Michelle, alcoholic. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. This is the first time I've shared. I was really struck today. This is the first time that I've taken this book this slowly, line by line. And what's happening for me is I'm getting immersed in the idea of this is brand new. It didn't exist. It's in the process of being created. And when we got to the line where it says, the doctor says, Silkworth says, the unselfishness of these men, the entire absence of profit motive, and their community spirit, I got God bumps. I just really believe that this is coming from nothing. It's divine inspiration. God working through people. And I just am really moved by that today. And this has made my meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that is going to be the end of our discussion today.